Hello there everybody, below 10,000 here, bringing you a tier maker tier list video. For some reason, these tier maker videos and tweets have been super popular lately, and I kind of wanted to get in on the action, but I initially was hesitant. That was until I saw my friend Hayden post his Legend of Zelda games tier list video earlier today, and I saw his opinions, and I was instantly inspired to make my own video because I disagreed with a lot of his opinions, because that's just how videos work. So I want to do a few of these tier list videos over the next month or so, and the first one is gonna be Legend of Zelda. It is one of my favorite franchises of all time, and has some amazing games, even if Triforce Heroes didn't get included on this list, but it's okay, I've never played it. So I have edited my tier list. We've got Link Green S, we've got a nice light blue A, little yellow B, orange C, red D, and then not played. And I'm going to go through all of these games, and I am going to list them out, and we're going to have a bit of fun. Now, I have actually played almost every single Zelda game. The only two Zelda games I have not played are the Four Swords games. So, Four Swords, I'm going to pop you there. And do we have the other Four Swords game as well? Is this the other Four Swords game? I think it is. Yes, it is. So we're going to pop the Four Swords games just down here. Triforce Heroes would also be there had I not played it. Had it been in here. It's not there, though. So all of these games are the ones I've played. Lovely bunch of games. Love them all. Let's go through one at a time, starting with The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Now, this is everyone's favorite Zelda game. Like, it's either this or Ocarina of Time. Everyone falls head over heels for this game, and I don't know. I've played it. I have played it all the way through. I have enjoyed the game. I enjoy the exploration. I enjoy the non-linearity, but at the same time, I don't know. Something has always just never really suited me with this game. Like, there has always been something that's always held me back. Maybe it's the fact that there are just too many items to find, or maybe Link's model just looked a bit odd with the pink hair. I'm not really sure. I think maybe it's just a case of I don't have nostalgia for this game. I never really played it until I'd played quite a few Zelda games at that point, so I didn't have nostalgic fondness for this game, and because it wasn't my first 2D Zelda, it just doesn't really hold that place in my heart. However, I recognize it as a brilliant game, and I understand why people love it so much. The dungeon design is brilliant. The amount of items, while I think can be overwhelming, are also very varied and unique. You get so many different upgrades, there are so many great bosses, there's some amazing music. But I'm gonna have to put it in A tier. I can't put it in S tier because S tier is for my favorites, and it's just not one of my favorites. So next up, Link Between Worlds. Link Between Worlds I actually prefer over Link to the Past, because 1, I really like 3DS games, 2, I really love the music, 3, I really like how the dungeons played in that game, and I feel like it was just an evolution of A Link to the Past. Obviously, people are going to complain about the fact that obviously the exploration, there's not as much to explore and see in Hyrule and Lorule. That being said, there were the, I can't remember what they were called, but the little kind of like squiddy things that you had to find throughout the different areas of Hyrule. Those were a collectible you could find, and sure, for the most part, you were just getting money so you could rent more items, but that just meant that this was more of a bite-sized Zelda game in the sense that you didn't have to do a crazy amount of exploring to complete it, and I respect that because I don't always have a lot of time to dedicate to full-on exploring places. But I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite Zelda games. I'd say it's definitely up there, but I'm gonna pop it above Link to the Past at A tier. Next up is The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. This is a very special game for me because not only was this the game that convinced me that I really needed a Switch, I needed one. I bought it on the Wii U, I played it over a week, I adored the game, and it was one of the first games in a very long time to really give me this sense of excitement just exploring the world. I got to kind of go in whatever direction I want. I wasn't restricted by a walkthrough. I wasn't being, what's the word I'm looking for? I wasn't being led on by, like, information that I found secondhand. Like, this was a game that I got to experience fully and perfectly my first time through, and then playing it again on the Switch was just magical. I've since played it 3 times. I've played it the first time on the Wii U, second time on the Switch, and then I did a streamed Let's Play of it over on Twitch, which is still saved on Twitch if you guys want to check that out, links down below. And honestly, this game just hasn't gotten old yet. I really, really love Breath of the Wild. The only thing I didn't like was obviously the fact that the dungeons weren't very good. Like, they were interesting, but they were just motion puzzles. They weren't really dungeons, and I miss that style of, like, traditional Zelda dungeons, which is why it's probably not going to be my favorite game at the end of this list. That being said, Breath of the Wild, it is S tier. It overtook Ocarina of Time within the fan base as the game of Zelda, and that for me is just amazing because I've always thought Ocarina of Time was a little bit, you know, overrated. So next up we've got The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. Link's Awakening was my first ever 2D Zelda game, but I personally played the XD version, the color version, the deluxe version. I did not play the original black and white version. That being said, it was my first ever Zelda game, and I absolutely adored it, and I loved Link's Awakening. I loved it so much. I did a Let's Play of it on the channel. I'm so hyped for the game being re-released. It is probably my favorite 2D Zelda game. I can safely say that. I think this is probably my favorite 2D Zelda game. And while I don't think it's necessarily as good as Breath of the Wild, I actually feel like Link's Awakening is S tier. Now, here's the thing. The dungeons are great, a little bit confusing at times. The bosses are a bit hit or miss, but for me, this is more of a nostalgic kind of position. I just love Link's Awakening. I do think it's the best 2D game. It's got such a personality to it, whereas a lot of the other 2D Zeldas kind of, you know, follow the traditional Zelda formula. This one really bucked trends. There was no Princess Zelda. It was all a dream. You had references to other franchises in there. It was just really Wart was in there. Wart from Super Mario 2 was in there. It was crazy. I loved it so much, and I am glad that it is getting the remake treatment this year, and I cannot wait to play it. Alright, Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. If anyone's ever watched videos on my channel, if you ever watched my top 5 videos of all time, then you already know that Majora's Mask is officially my favorite Zelda game. It is S tier perfection. Not only is the world really fun, it's not large, which I really like, because I feel like when the Zelda worlds are too big, they just don't have enough to do. Breath of the Wild really did that correctly, but Zelda Majora's Mask had a smaller world, but you got to meet all of these different characters, you got to note down your quests in the Bomber Notebook. Clocktown was great, the various tribes that you go to were a lot of fun. I really love that Deku Palace theme. Great Bay was a lot of fun, Snowhead was great. Akana Canyon is one of the most iconic locations in The Legend of Zelda. It is just so genuinely creepy. And of course, that's not even taking into account the moon, Skull Kid, the dungeons, and the bosses. I know that the dungeons in Majora's Mask tend to kind of be love it or hate it, because they are quite long, they are complicated, and they can be quite puzzling, and that's because there's only 4 of them in the game. And obviously when you have the time limit as well, if you don't have the Song of Slowing, then it can become quite brutal to get through these dungeons. That being said, for me, the only dungeon I don't think I like in that game is the first dungeon, Woodfall. The other dungeons, Snowhead, the Great Bay Temple, and Stone Tower Temple, I absolutely love. I know a lot of people are a bit confused sometimes on why Stone Tower Temple has so much love to it, but honestly, I think Stone Tower is so loved not only because it's got a beautiful music track, and I just point that one out, but the fact is, this is a dungeon where you are required to use every single skill that you have earned in the game. It is not, you get one item in this dungeon and you use that for the rest of the dungeon to solve it. No, you're using all of your masks, you're using all your transformational abilities, you're using all of your items, you have to use your entire inventory to figure out what you need to do and where you need to go, and for me, it is just it's my favorite Zelda dungeon. It really is. So it is up there. Majora's Mask also has Deku Link, which is my favorite form of Link, because Deku Link is absolutely adorable. So Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, S tier. The original Legend of Zelda. Okay, this is gonna be a bit painful. Gonna have to put it in C tier. Now let me explain. I love the original Legend of Zelda, but You can't play it without a guide these days. If you tried to play it without a guide, you're just never gonna finish it, because some of that stuff is so damn cryptic, it's not even funny. Like, at least Adventure of Link, you can actually figure out where you need to go just by exploring. With The Legend of Zelda, you can accidentally stumble into Dungeon 8 at, like, the second round, and then bam, you're dead, you're out, boom. It's ridiculous. That being said, it is obviously the first game in the series, and everything improved from there, and while I'm not the biggest fan of the original Legend of Zelda, I completely respect what it is. I did a full Let's Play on it, and I do enjoy it from time to time, but it's one of those games that I just don't see myself ever really going back to. Next up is Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time, I feel, it deserves to be an A tier. I think it's good enough to be an A tier, but is it better than a Link to the Past for me? That's difficult. Honestly, I would say yes, if only because I've had more personal experiences with Ocarina of Time than I have Link to the Past. Ocarina of Time, I don't think I played until probably secondary school, so right when I was like growing up as a teenager. I think what I did was I emulated it and I tried it out then, and I tried to multiple times. It was originally going to be the first Let's Play I posted on my channel in 2010, but that got deleted. But Ocarina of Time is a good game. I'm not going to deny that. It is a very good game. It's just not my kind of game. My kind of Zelda game specifically. Because the thing is, Ocarina of Time is a lot of fun, and it defined the formula that Zelda was going to go down with the great dungeon design, and the bosses, and the music, and I will say the bosses in Ocarina of Time are some of my favorites. I mean, Bongo Bongo, Phantom Ganon, Morpha, Twin Rover, there are some brilliant bosses in Ocarina of Time. That being said, I played it on my 3DS. I played the 3DS remake, and I don't know, maybe I just was missing something that a lot of people back in the day saw, but obviously playing it years after it's come out, it just kind of feels a bit... It just doesn't feel like it holds up as well. Also, the graphics are kind of ugly, I'm not gonna lie. Even with the 3DS remake, I still feel like a lot of the models didn't get much upgrades, whereas, at least with the Majora's Mask game, some of the models did actually look a lot nicer. So that's where I'm gonna have to put Ocarina of Time. Sorry, guys. Alright, the Oracle of Ages and Seasons games. If I had to rank them, I prefer Seasons, I've played it more, but really... C tier. I'm sorry. But I'll probably put Seasons in between the original Legend of Zelda and Ages. I just didn't really enjoy Ages. I understand it was more puzzle-focused, and that for me, like, I like puzzles, I like Zelda puzzles, but for some reason the Ages ones didn't click with me, and with Seasons, I enjoyed it a lot more because it was a nice throwback to the original Legend of Zelda, and I think arguably it does the original Legend of Zelda story a lot better, so I'm gonna put it above that. But my issue with these games wasn't necessarily that they were like a duo of games and they were the 2D Zeldas. It was that they stole, well, not stole, but they took so many music tracks and pixels and sprites from Link's Awakening, and then people started saying, oh my god, this track was amazing in Seasons and Ages, but it came from Awakening, and nobody realized. And I feel like these games took away from Awakening's impact, because Capcom was like, you know what, we don't really want to make our own sprites, let's just take all the shit from Awakening and put them into another game, and that really bothered me. Like, there were a lot of brilliant tracks from Awakening that got reused in those games, and then people just thought they were from the Oracle's games, and that just annoyed me. But it just personally actually got under my skin, because obviously Link's Awakening is one of my favorite Zelda games, and then people are just saying, like, not giving credit where credit is due. It was painful. But yeah, I don't really have much to say on these ones. I haven't really played them for a while, and they're just, they're kind of eh. Alright, Phantom Hourglass. Hello, Phantom Hourglass. I have a very, very, very weird relationship with Phantom Hourglass. This was one of the first Zelda games that I played on the DS. Well, I mean, it was the first Zelda game on the DS, full stop. But it was one that I played it on my sister's DS. I would always go around to her house, and I would play this game, and I would love it. I actually really liked Phantom Hourglass as a kid. I completed it multiple times. I really enjoyed the final boss, I really enjoyed the gameplay. I did think that the Temple of the Ocean King was a bit draggy, and I completely respect why people say that and why they think that. But I never thought it was as bad as what people said, and I'm gonna be real controversial here. I'm gonna put it in B tier. And you know what, actually? Because D tier isn't being used much, I'm probably gonna move the... I'm gonna move the Oracle and the original down to D tier, and I'm gonna put Phantom Hourglass in C tier. I think that makes a bit more sense. I think that makes way more sense. So, yeah, I actually kind of enjoyed Phantom Hourglass. I know some people didn't. I know most people didn't, but I did. I really liked it. It was fun. So Skyward Sword is next. Skyward Sword is... Ooh, it's a game. So my issue with Skyward Sword, and the reason why I just don't feel like it reaches the same heights as the games in A tier, is the linearity. It is so uncomfortably linear that you just don't really get that reward of exploration. There's also the fact that it did have some game-breaking glitches in which you could literally brick your save if you did a side quest out of order. I do think the dungeons in this game are quite good. I think they're very beautiful. Ancient Cistern is one of my favorite Zelda dungeons to look at, and it is just beautiful. It's a water dungeon done right. And of course, the bosses in this game are great as well. I really respect Koloktos, Demise. However, for Koloktos and Demise, you also have the one boss from the ship with like a giant squid that was just really, really simple and easy. And overall, I feel like Skyward Sword, while it was great, it just didn't have a lot to do. Like, you had this overworld where you could fly on your loft wing, but there wasn't really much to do up there. And it was the same on the ground. You just had very linear locations and areas, and it just didn't really feel like this game rewarded you for exploring in the same way as the others. And for a massive 3D Zelda, I feel like the exploration was more important than, say, Link Between Worlds, which was a handheld. So, for me, Skyward Sword, I'm not going to put it at C tier. I don't think it's that bad. I think it's good. But I'm going to put it at B tier, mainly because it gave us Lady Gargirahim, and, that was just the best thing this game did. Spirit Tracks. Okay, this is my favorite DS Zelda game. Not even gonna lie about that. It really is. I still have the game. I bought it, I would like to say maybe about like 9 or 10 years ago for my DS. And I always used to play it a lot. I really enjoyed it. I preferred it more than Phantom Hourglass. I love the train mechanic. I 100% in the game. I really enjoyed everything. I like that Zelda was your companion in this game, and she got to actually kind of explore with you. And honestly, this game just holds a lot of really, really good memories for me. I'm trying to think, is there anything I really disliked about this game? I mean, maybe the Fire Kingdom? I'm not sure if I really enjoyed the Fire Kingdom that much. But at the same time, I thought it was a great game. The only thing that I always got annoyed about, and I think this was a problem with Phantom Hourglass as well, is that for some reason they changed the localized names of the bosses. And the boss of the Sand Temple in Spirit Tracks had a very different name in both... in different regions in America and in Europe, and I always got very confused. And they changed Burn's name to Staven in the European version, and I don't get why they called him Staven. That doesn't sound at all as, like, Burn sounds way more intimidating than Staven. So that was a very odd choice. But on a personal note, and people are gonna get really upset with me for this one. It's S tier. It's S tier for me. It is just, like, those games in S tier are the ones that I will go back to and I will happily play again and again. I love them that much. So, S tier, Spirit Tracks, let's go. Okay, Minish Cap. Minish Cap, great game. I did play through it on... I may have played through it on an emulator, please don't hate me. But I really enjoyed Minish Cap for what it was. It was a very short game, it was a very enjoyable game, it had its own unique art style, which I wish the Seasons games had done. Because Minish Cap was the Seasons games in terms of, like, being in a different location done right. Like, Minish Cap was great. You had the ability to shrink, and I like that some of the bosses were literally just like generic enemies, but they were massive because you were shrunk, and then it was like, how do you beat them when you're tiny. That was great. I loved that. The Kinstones as well was a lot of fun. I really like the dungeon design in this game, and overall, Minish Cap is just arguably one of the stronger 2D Zeldas out there. That being said, if I'm gonna have to put it down on this list, I'm probably gonna put it at B tier above Skyward Sword, because I think it was a very good game. Alright, Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, this is a tough one. I do not have as much of a nostalgic experience with Wind Waker. However, I have played the majority of Wind Waker, and I think I've completed it once or twice. It's been a very long time. But recently, I don't really find much drive to go back and replay this game. That's my big issue with Wind Waker. It's not a replayable game, in my opinion. I think the sailing can often be a bit slow. Obviously, they fixed that in the Wii U version with the fast sail. And someone is drilling somewhere? Really? Can you hear that? Construction. But Wind Waker, I don't know. I'm gonna probably tick off a lot of people. I'm probably gonna have to put it at low A tier. It's just, I do not have that nostalgia for Wind Waker, but I love Wind Waker. I really enjoy it. I have it on the Wii U. I played it once as a kid. I remember playing through the Forsaken Fortress as a kid and getting caught by moblins and all that. And it was a beautiful cel-shaded game, and I respect everything that the Wind Waker does. It just wasn't for me. It wasn't really the game that I could safely say I adored this game compared to everything else. I feel like there were just other games in the Zelda franchise that connected with me more. But I will say the dungeons were great in this game. Ganon is arguably the best he's ever been in Wind Waker, and that's even obviously above Twilight Princess as well. I think Wind Waker's Ganon is easily the best one we've had. Moving on, Twilight Princess though. Twilight Princess is, for me, top of A tier. Now, this is because aside from the 4 games in S tier, Twilight Princess is the one that I would probably play again out of the rest of these games. The only issue is that Twilight Princess is a very big game, and there are a lot of highs and a lot of lows. The dungeon design in this game is legendary. Honestly, some of the best dungeons in the franchise come from Twilight Princess, and no one will be mad if you made a top 10 video and they were just all Twilight Princess dungeons. The items are a lot of fun, if a bit misunderused, which is a real shame, because the spinner is absolutely so much fun, and then they barely use it, aside from getting to that one village outside in Hyrule Field. I really love the music in this game. Midna as a companion is just the best companion in the series. I don't think anyone can argue that. I really think Midna is the most characterized companion, and she has her own story, she has her own theme. Midna's Lament when you're running through Hyrule Field, with Midna on your back. Wolf Link I actually really enjoyed. I enjoyed Wolf Link. I really enjoyed those segments. I thought the Wolf Link idea was really cool. It was what got me into the game in the first place. The characters are a lot of fun. The hero's shade is great. My only issue is Zant, and not necessarily the character. How the character ended up. He got completely shoved to the side, whoever is drilling outside. Zant got shoved to the wayside right at the very end of the game to make room for Ganon, and for me, no. No, Ganon. I wanted more Zan. He just lost any intimidation that he did with his boss fight, and it was a real shame because I really liked his character. That being said, I would say Twilight Princess is one of my favorite Hyrules around. I really like the desert. Hyrule Field's theme is really nice. I do wish there was a bit more to do in Hyrule Field, but that being said, I do think this was a brilliant Zelda game, and certainly worthy of A tier. And lastly, The Adventure of Link. Now, The Adventure of Link is going to be C tier. I prefer it over the Oracle games and the original Legend of Zelda. I always like going back to it and seeing if I can beat it and testing my mettle and having a good bit of fun. That being said, I'm not very good at it. I'm probably never going to beat it. And it is, like, you can't put it above any of the other games on this list. It would be treason. But that is that. I'm just going to pop it there, and I'm going to just leave it at that, because Adventure of Link is very similar to Castlevania 2. They have very similar styles of gameplay and just how you do things, and it's easier to complete than the original Legend of Zelda in terms of figuring out what you need to do. It's very difficult, that's all. But yeah, that is my tier list. That is my Zelda tier list. I know people are going to disagree with this, but I would love to hear what you guys think of the Zelda series in the description below, in the comments below. Let me know what your favorite Zelda games are, what your least favorite Zelda games are. Hell, go and make your own tier list videos. I'd love to see them. Thank you very much everyone for watching though. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.